Ladies and gentlemen, let's rate GameInsider.com video. It is indeed Christmas Day, and of course there is the Steam Summer Sale to think of. We have some really good deals on today, as you'd expect for Christmas. Not quite as good as I expected, but then by no means shabby. We're going to start things off with Elder Scrolls V Skyrim. It's currently available for 75% off, which means it is $7.49 or $20. $39, depending on if you want the regular version or the legendary version. Meanwhile, if you're paying in Great British Pounds, you're going to be looking at £3.74 or $10.19. So us Brits actually get a really good deal. I wouldn't exactly say Americans get screwed, but they're not exactly paying the best prices possible. So, question. Who doesn't know what Skyrim's about by now? It is, of course, the first-person RPG by Bethesda and is widely regarded to be one of the best games of the last generation. It is, of course, the PC version and therefore it is highly moddable. So, should you get the regular Skyrim or should you get the legendary? Well, it's considerably more expensive for the legendary edition, but you do get Half-Fire, which is, well, crap, and I'd probably say is completely and utterly not worth the money. But you do get Dragonborn and Dawnguard. The problem is that Dawnguard and Dragonborn are only 33% for Dragonborn and 50% for Dawnguard off, so it makes it quite expensive. Now, would I recommend getting the legendary? Yes, if you really want to take the game seriously and put a lot of work into it, because honestly, Dragonborn does add a hell of a lot of extra content. Dawnguard's not too bad as well. I have done first impressions of both. Personally speaking, I would say at the very least get the regular base game. I mean, there are so many mods, so many dungeons to explore that honestly speaking, you could be, well, pretty much checking it out forever and a day. It's not to say that it's perfect. Combat first person can be a little bit hit and miss, and sometimes when you level up, you don't feel that there's an exact linear curve in terms of difficulty. Sometimes, for example, some dungeons going to be a little bit too easy, others could be a bit too hard, and sometimes leveling, you could take a direction that might not be ideal. I have heard of some people completely restarting because they felt that their character wasn't really powerful enough. Nevertheless, it is a very good game, and I would encourage you to check it out. Next up is Europa Universalis 4. And it is available for $19.99. That's 50% off, by the way. Or if you're paying in in Great British Pounds, you're going to be paying $17.49. So us Brits don't get a terrible price, and Americans don't get a bad price either. I could honestly say that I have not played this game before, but there is a demo of it available. It does, however, score extremely well on various review websites, including PC Gamer, GameSpot, and on top of that, scores pretty damn well on Metacritic. Honestly, I've not played it, so I can't give you exact information on it. It looks fairly cool if this is your type of game, but that is what a demo is for. Next game, however, is going to be Terraria. It's available currently for $1.49 if you're paying in pounds, or if you're paying in dollars, it's available for $2.49, which is not a bad price at all. It's actually recently undergone an absolutely huge update as well, which adds tons of different, well, things to the world. Honestly speaking, it fixes a lot of little bugs as well. For example, when you're walking over small little bumps on the ground previously, you had to jump rather than just your character automatically going over them. That's been resolved. Tons of extra goodies, including, for example, lightsabers. Well, whatever they've called them. Obviously, they couldn't call them lightsabers due to trademark and all. Honestly speaking, this game is going to keep you going for a while, but the caveat is that it's fairly old now. And in addition to that, and probably the biggest out of all of the issues, it definitely would be a hell of a lot more fun with friends. With that said, there's a ridiculous amount of content, and you could definitely get yourself and your friends a couple of these a couple of Terrarias, and you know, you'd be pretty damn set for a long-ass time in terms of content. Next one is Endless Space. There be two versions of this. There be the Emperor Edition, which is $7.49, or the Gold Edition, which is $8.74. That would be US dollars, incidentally. Meanwhile, if you're paying in pounds, you're going to be paying $6.24 or $7.24, respectively. Honestly, not played this title before. It scores fairly well in terms of reviews. It looks pretty cool. I'm typically not a fan of these like huge space battle type of games, which is the reason I personally haven't checked it out. Which is kind of weird, considering I actually, generally speaking, absolutely love space and that type of thing. But regardless, honestly, haven't played it. It scores fairly well. I'd suggest checking a couple of video reviews out, getting an idea if it's your thing or not. Next title we're going to be taking a look at, Roller Coaster, Tycoon 3. The Platinum Edition is $5.99 if you're paying in US dollars. Meanwhile, us Brits are going to be paying $4.49, so not bad. It is, of course, a pretty simple concept. The idea is that you are going to be building a roller coaster and everything else that you'd expect theme park. And it scores pretty well. Honestly, I haven't played this title. It does score pretty well. There's not exactly an abundance of these around. I mean, there used to be some really good titles available. And I used to be a huge fan of Theme Park back in the day. But recently, the problem is, this game is fairly old. I mean, just to give you an idea, the minimum specification is a Pentium 3 733 MHz. And made its way onto Steam in October 2006. Not that that's necessarily a bad thing, it's just that, yes, it's fairly old and, it may be not as graphically impressive as you'd expect, but once again, it scores fairly well, and there's not a huge amount of these games that are, anyway, good. So yeah, definitely worth checking out. Next one, Payday 2. So, first of all, let's say that it's 55% off, which is $13.49 if you're paying in, you guessed it, US dollars. Meanwhile, as Brits get to pay $11.24, so not a bad price or anything. I'm going to just say that there is a demo available for this, and I'd recommend that you check it out. The basic premise is that you are on a team of bank robbers, and the idea is that you pretty much plan and execute a series of robberies. It is a pretty cool game, to be honest with you, and actually sold really well, pretty much on the marketing strengths of the original. That said, it's not for everyone. The graphics, not exactly the most impressive you're going to see, but they certainly are pretty damn functional and do the job pretty damn well, in my personal opinion. Apparently, it made profit within just a couple of days after launch. In fact, I think even the pre-orders got profit. So, yeah, I'd recommend that you check it out. There's also been a bunch of content. They've already had 11 updates for this, which has added tons of extra heists and extra content into the title. It's regularly updated, so you could definitely check it out if this is your type of thing. At the very least, you could download a demo. You've got 48 hours to try it out. Next one is $4.99, and that would be Deus Ex Human Revolution Director's Cut, or if you're paying in pounds, it's going to be $3.24. So, I have done a first impressions of this, so you can check it out if you so desire. Honestly speaking, it's a pretty damn good game. It's, of course, a sequel to the original Deus Exes, and while I don't think it quite lives up to the original, it certainly has some issues. One of the primary ones is that I dislike the way the leveling system works. I don't like how it punishes you pretty much for taking the lethal approach. Not that that's bad. There are also a couple of really big bugs that I experienced on the original release, although most of those have gotten fixed. Honestly, I think it's a really cool game. If you're interested in a dystopia or, the old sci-fi type of titles, the films, you're definitely going to love it. It has a lot of content, there are a hell of a lot of missions, and you could well spend a lot of your life playing through this game. It's not perfect, but it is well written, it has a good storyline, it is well voice acted, the graphics are quite nice, if maybe a little bit too orange in places. You do kind of get a bit sick of the tint of orange. Overall, pretty good PC version as well. The director's cut, of course, features extra content, So that's good, that's all taken care of. Honestly, I would check this one out. It is not going to give you as much gameplay time as, say, Skyrim, but the storyline is much more focused, and honestly, if you're interested in sci-fi or just a good action RPG, then you could certainly be doing a hell of a lot worse. Next up, surely probably less popular in the United States than over here, but for 50% off you can pick up Football Manager 2014. So that would be $25 or $24.99 if you want to split hairs. Meanwhile, us Brits are going to be paying $17.49. Honestly, I've never ever touched a Football Manager sim in my life. There is a demo of it available, so I'd recommend you check that out. I have friends that get completely and utterly absorbed into this game. I have knowledge of people who quite literally are going to bed at like 5 or 6 in the morning because they're not realising how late it is because they've gotten so bloody addicted. Never appealed to me. Why? Because honestly, I'm just not a fan of British soccer or football, whatever the hell you want to call it, at all. Never have been. I'm personally more a fan of, well, pretty much bodybuilding, UFC, and if I lived in the States, I'd probably check out American football, but not having grown up with it, I don't really support it. So there you have it. As I said, there is a demo of it available. Recommend checking out. It's not a bad game or anything like that. It's a very good game. It's just not something that I personally am interested in. And there you have it. Speaking of something I'm personally not interested in, Trials Evolution Gold Edition. This one is $4.99 if you're paying in US dollars. Meanwhile, $3.99 if you're paying in Great British Pounds. That is 75% off, which is pretty shiny. There is a demo of this available. It scores pretty well, but honestly, I've never, ever played it in my life. I'm not interested in racing games traditionally anyway. It looks fairly cool, but what's the point in me waxing lyrically about, you know, what the Metacritic score is and all of that jazz when there's a demo of it available? So I'd recommend you just head over to there. Steam are not the only guys that are giving some really good deals right now. I'm not going to bother to list all of them because some of them, like Amazon, are fairly obvious, but you guys should also check out Green Man Gaming. I have no affiliate with them or any affiliation, with them. But they do have titles like, for example, I'm not going to check the US prices, but they have, for example, right now, Remember Me, which is a fairly recent release, and that's only $7.49. They have Mortal Kombat Complete, which is $6.24. They've got NBA 2K14 for $7.49. They've also got Elder Scrolls for the same price, so you Americans might want to check it out. It might be a little bit cheaper for you. And they've even got Valve Complete Pack for $12.49, which comes with an absolute ridiculous amount of content. So you could check that out should you wish. Also, you could check out GOG, which are doing their own sale as well. With all of that said, hopefully you enjoyed the video. I'll see you soon. Take care. Bye for now.